I found this reference photo on pixabay.com and I thought it would be ideal because you've got the beautiful black background. So you've got the trees in the background, and I did put in forest, that's all I put in. And you've got the black trees in the background, which we're going to use as the black of the paper. And also these beautiful bright blue butterflies. But if you have a look at the wings of the butterflies, they've got black mixed into them. So what I'm going to do is use my white pencil and I'm going to draw in the butterflies, but actually try to preserve the black of the paper and use that in the black of the butterflies. I'm so sorry if you can hear rattling. It is my tumble dryer is downstairs and something is rattling. I think it might be my water jars. Anyway, let's get started on this. The first thing I'm going to draw in are some butterflies. So I think I'm going to put a little butterfly here to start with. And what we're going to do is just, like I said, preserve the black of the paper for some of these butterflies. So I'm going to leave a bit of a gap. And all we're simply going to do is just paint around the edge of the butterfly's wing, and then we'll know then where to leave the paper. I'm going to pop another one by here, I think. So just some simple shapes. I'm not completely following the reference photo completely. I'm just popping in my own shapes, but I am using it for a little bit of an idea. So there's a little wing coming up here, and then I think we'll pop in another one by here. So this one looks like it's on top of the rock. Looks like a heart shape, that wing. And then we'll leave a bit of a gap, so I want to leave some of the black of the paper showing. Pop in another wing by there, another heart shape, simple. And then we'll do another one flying in the air up here. So again, it's kind of like a heart shape really. And then his other wing, leave a bit of a gap. Can you see how by using a white pencil how well it comes out on the black paper? So that's why I used a white pencil as opposed to a grey graphite pencil. And then I think we'll have, shall we have quite a big one here? Let's just pop in just a butterfly's wing coming off the page like that. And then I might actually pop in a light one here, because it looks like there's a light one in the background, but it's a bit fuzzy. So I'll just pop in a light one there like that. And then what I'm going to do is use my pencil as well to map out where the trees are going to go, because I don't want to paint the trees. I want to leave the black of the paper showing. So I'm just painting in some thin, I'm drawing in some thin lines here. And they don't have to be completely straight, because of course trees are not straight. So this is going to be a thin one. And then maybe one that's sort of going to the side like that. Like I said, it's not completely straight because trees are not straight. And then I think we'll have one that kind of goes like that, because it looks a bit more interesting like that. We'll have a bendy tree. We might have another one coming down here, and that's going to be a bendy tree as well. And maybe it's going to be coming to the side like that. It's going to be a bit thicker. And then maybe I'll get another one a bit thicker down the middle as well. Like that. So now I'm going to draw in the ground. So what I'm going to do is just wiggle my brush around like this and just draw in some bumpy ground. Because this is going to be a bit of a loose painting, I'm not being completely perfect with my marks. I'm going to take this blue here, which is a lovely bright blue, and I can't remember the colour of this. I will put a little label down for you so you know what colour this is exactly, but I'm just going to pop it into my palette here because I want to add a bit of water, because I want the background to look quite fuzzy, so I don't want it to be completely in your face. I want the butterflies to stand out more, so I am going to add more white and stuff to the butterfly so it stands out a bit more, because I want to use a bit of indigo as well. I'm going to mix those two colours together in the background. Right, so what I'm going to do now is start with my indigo. So I'm just going to simply just start painting in around the white of of the tree and painting over the white as well, just so we cover that white pencil. Because the white is like a resist material, you are going to get some resisting, but I actually quite like that effect because you're going to get a nice sort of little outline on the tree, which I really like. So I'm just painting in this indigo now. It has got a bit of that bright blue still on my brush, so that's why it's coming out a bit more bright than the indigo would be normally on its own, but I don't mind. I want a bit of a mixture of colours anyway. You could always leave the white of the trees if you want to. Sorry, the white of the pencil showing. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and cover the pencil marks if I can. Can you see how I'm just painting around the black markings that we've put down? So I'm leaving the black of the paper, and that's going to be the tree. So this is negative painting, and that means that you're painting around the shape. Mixing a bit of the indigo so we get just a change of colour. So I got the bright blue and then I got the indigo, and you can see I'm just leaving a small border around the butterfly's wing, and I'm starting off by painting around the butterfly's wing because, like I said, I want to leave some bits on the outside of the butterfly to create that black border around his wings. Don't worry too much of the white of the pencil at the moment because we are going to use the gouache and we're going to go over the white markings when we paint the butterfly, so that white pencil is going to basically disappear. So don't worry too much about that for now. Taking the bright blue now, so we get to swap the blue over. Painting that. I'm going to leave a bit of a thick dark outline for that butterfly. And carefully painting over the white pencil markings, but can you see how when the paint dries you just get that very subtle white pencil showing through? It's not really bright, so it is very subtle, but it's nice. I think it's a nice little way of adding texture and interest to your painting. I'm just carefully painting around the butterfly, leaving a little border. When we're painting the butterfly, we're going to add white to the butterfly's wings to make them really stand out. So the reason why I'm not putting any white into the background colour is because I do want it to look like it's more faded into the background. I don't want the focus to be on the background really, I want the focus to be on the butterflies. That's why I'm adding more water to start with, so we get a bit of the black of the paper showing through. So we get that lovely moody vibe, just like in the reference photo, because it is quite fuzzy and moody in the background. You could, if you wanted to, add more water here and there so that you get a bit more of a difference in tone. So if I add a bit more water, you can see that it's a bit thicker in some places where it's a bit darker and more in your face. And then because I've added a bit of water, it's sort of thinning the paint out and you can see more of the black of the paper showing through. So it's more of a lighter colour then in areas. I'm going to add a pop of violet to this as well, just while the paint is still wet. And the reason why I'm doing this is just to add a bit of interest, a bit of an extra colour in the background. I think it doesn't harm. Just makes the piece look a little bit more interesting and eye-capturing. I'm going to just take the purple and drop that in, and because there's a bit of water on my brush, that's going to create a bit of a watercolour bloom, and I love adding watercolour blooms to my paintings. So really sometimes I do it intentionally, which is I just add it for texture. I'm going to carry on painting the background now and leave you with this music, and I'm just going to speed this part up a little bit. adding a little bit of black into the background just to create some sort of tree shapes, but very fuzzed out. Just a bit of indigo going on as well. So I'm going to leave that to dry completely now. While the top of the forest is drying, I'm going to work on this part here. I'm going to use my yellow ochre on this area now, and you can see it's really bright. So what I'm going to do is actually dip my brush in my water jar to dilute it a bit, because I want it to be a little bit bright in areas but then a bit more diluted in areas as well. So I'm going to carefully paint around the black border of the butterfly's wings. I want to have a bit of a border just around the bottom of his wings there, and then also around the back of his wings too. What I love about gouache is you can work on it a little bit longer than you can with watercolours, because you can actually re-wet the paint so that the edge of the paint, if it starts drying, you can just re-wet it with your brush. I'm going to rinse off my brush now. I'm just using some clean water to just blend that edge out there, because I want it to be quite light in tone in some areas. You could always leave a few little skips of the paper if you want to do some dry brush marks like this with a drier brush, and then you're going to leave some of the black of the paper showing then, which I actually quite like. You can see here where I've added quite a lot of water at the bottom, some of the black of the paper is showing through, and that's what I wanted there. I wanted to be slightly darker on the edges here and then nice and light in the middle. So I'm adding a bit more paint now to this part here. Carefully painting around the butterfly's wings again. This paint is quite thick, so it's really sort of in your face and really opaque. And if you don't know what opaque means, it just means that you can't see the paper through it. So you can't see the black paper through the paint. Opaque means that it covers things. So it covers the layers underneath. I'm just wiggling my brush really just to get this sort of bumpy texture on top. It looks a bit like rock. What I wanted to do now was take my indigo. I'm just going to pop that into this area here and then rinse my brush off. I'm just going to start blending that colour in, because I want it to be quite dark in this area, like I said, so I just wanted it to be a bit more dark. And where that yellow ochre meets the indigo, it is going to create more of a green colour, but it really doesn't matter because we're going for a forest look. So I wanted to take a bit more of the indigo, just blend it at the bottom as well. I wanted to be darker around the edges and also the bottom. What I love about gouache is you can just work on it for so long and keep blending it out, because it is re-wettable. I'm going to add a bit of water here and there just to add a bit of texture. So this is just clean water, and I just wanted to add lots of texture to this area here because it is rock. So a few little drops of water, not going too wild. Maybe a few splatters of water as well. And now I'm going to leave that to dry completely. I'm going to use these metallic paints now to add a little bit of shimmer and shine to the rock area. These are the Gansai Tambi Starry Night colours. These are by Take, and I got them from Amazon, so I'll link them down below for you. So I'm just going to pop in this red gold, which is sort of a bronzy gold, and I'm just going to pop it into... I'm just going to use the side of my brush really and just blob it on. So I'm just blobbing it on in a few little areas just to get that sort of shimmer and shine, because if you have a look at the reference photo, it looks like there's a bit of sun gleaming on the rocks by here. And I'm just going to blob that on top So we got like a variation. So we got the darker gold and then the light gold on top then. So all I'm doing is just basically looking at the shapes, blobbing on a little bit of that lighter yellow gold on top of those shapes that I've put down. It doesn't matter, you don't have to put them on all of them. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm just going to put this colour on some of them. And you can also add that on its own as well. So if I wanted to just add a little bit of that colour on its own, and also to the top of this this area here as well. Just so it looks like the sun is dancing on top of this mountain, the rock area here. I might actually add a little bit by there as well. The way that I'm going to approach painting these butterflies now is I'm going to start with the bright blue to start with, because if you have a look, the main darkest colours in that butterfly are that sort of mid blue like the background, and then I'm going to use a bit of cobalt turquoise, which is one of my favourite colours, but I am going to mix it with white, and I'm also going to add white to the blue as well and paint on top, so we get this sort of streaky look. It does look like actually parts of the butterfly's wings are black, so I might actually use like the end of my paintbrush or something to score some lines. We'll see what we can do anyway. It's all learning with me still. I'm still sort of learning about gouache, so it's all trial and error, and I love trial and error, to be honest. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint this butterfly over here on its sides. I'm going to start off with this colour here. I want a nice thick mixture because I want to cover most of the black with this colour. So I've not got much water on my brush, it's mainly just paint. I'm trying my best not to put my hand in the gold that I've just put down, because I just accidentally put my hand in the gold. And I've got a shiny finger. I'm going to try scoring some marks into the butterfly's wings and see if that makes a bit of like lined texture. Literally scoring. Oh, that works really well. Look how well that works. That's great. I'm just going to score in some sort of butterfly veins. So if you haven't got the end of a brush like this and your brush end is not that thin, use a toothpick or something really thin like a pin head, or yeah, maybe the end of a credit card might work if you hold it on its side. Yep, so look, that worked perfectly. So I'm going to leave that to dry. And there's always an ugly stage to a painting. I've definitely found that out with watercolours. Watercolours is definitely the hardest medium I've ever tried to master, but also my favourite. I've tried every medium there is, to be honest. Oils and acrylics, gouache now. I've tried all sorts of like marker pens, colouring pencils, fine liners, all sorts. I've literally used anything you can imagine. The only thing that I haven't tried, but I have got the equipment for, is paint pouring. And the only reason why I haven't had to go with it is because I haven't got the room. Because you need quite a lot of room for that, and you need to sort of protect your work surfaces. I even bought all the protective cover and stuff, like I got like plastic stuff where you can cover your table and all sorts. I love the look of paint pouring. If any of you have tried that, by the way, please let me know, because I'd be so interested. So it's very diluted. You'll still see the black of the paper showing through this butterfly, but I wanted it to be lighter in tone because I want it to be pushed out into the background. So I'm just painting that on over the pencil marks. I've added a little bit of white to it, just because I want this butterfly to be quite light, because it's in the foreground and this one's going to stand out quite a lot. If you have a look at the reference photo, most of that butterfly is that very light blue, and that's because it looks like it's out of focus, doesn't it? So it's probably where they've taken the picture of it, it's become out of focus. So painting that on, I'm actually just going to wiggle my brush back and forth to make the edges look a bit more sort of shaped. And you can see that these are not shaped at all, I've just made them really simple shapes. And maybe I'll have time to score into this one as well. Yeah, just a few. It's starting to dry, so it's not working very well, but that's completely my fault. You do want to work on this quite quickly. I'm going to add some white to the blue now. So I'm going to add plenty of white because I want this to be nice and light. And we are going to add a bit more white after this, but I'm going to add just a light blue to start with, and then I'll add more white on top and we'll sort of mix it on the paper then. So I'm going to start with this butterfly here, and I'm just going to add a bit of this light blue. And then you can rinse your brush off if you want to, and dab it on a cloth so it's not too damp, not too wet, sorry, but it's just a bit damp, and then just use the edge of your damp brush to blend out the paint. I'm going to add light blue to this one as well, so I'm just going to add this in a few places. So you can see that I'm preserving a few dark veins of the butterfly's wings with the dark blue. I'm so sorry that this camera keeps going out of focus. This is a new camera of mine and I'm still getting used to the settings. So when my hand goes in the way, it sort of focuses more on my hand than the painting, which is really frustrating. With this butterfly that's out of focus, I'm just going to add two lighter blobs really in the middle. And then again, just taking my the light blue and just adding it in a few little areas really. I'm not going too wild or being too specific with this, but I am sort of avoiding those middle veins. That colour there sort of blends together. I find this so relaxing. Gouache is just a really lovely relaxing medium, I find, and I'm really enjoying this. There we go. And then what I'm going to do now is take my white. So I'm just rinsing off my brush and dabbing it on a cloth because I do want to use a damp brush, but I don't want to use too much water on my brush because I want this to be mainly thick paint. So I want it to be nice and light. I'm just going to add this white now to just a few areas. So that's going to make that parts of the butterfly's wings super light. Just in a few areas, so it's going to look like the light is hitting it, and that's what really drew me to this butterfly painting, was that beautiful white or very, very light blue streak. In a minute I'm going to use my my cobalt turquoise as well, if you're wondering why I'm not using it. I will soon. So I'm just going to add the white down here as well. Yeah. And if it comes out too bright, you can just use your fingertip and just dab it on. And add a bit of white there. Then don't worry about this. This is all at the moment looking very bright white, but we are going to pop a bit of turquoise over the top of this. And the reason why I'm popping the white down on first is because I want the turquoise to mix with the white and become quite light. One here. And because this blue is still wet, it's actually blending lovely with the blue on the paper. So it's becoming more of a light blue really rather than a white, which is what I wanted. So now what I'm going to do is just use my damp brush and blend out that colour a little bit. So can you see how now I'm using the damp brush? The white is actually blending in with the light blue, and it's becoming more of a light blue rather than a white. Now I'm going to add a bit of white to this, so taking my turquoise, just enough water just to get it sort of flowing on the paper, and then rinse my brush off, add the white. It's lovely and light, look at that colour, how pretty is that? And then I'm just going to use this turquoise in a few areas. I'm just painting over the white that I've put down, and that's going to just help that to remain really light because I'm putting it over white. You can wait until these butterflies are completely dry before going on top, and that will stop the turquoise from mixing with the blue, and that will make it look even more sort of opaque then. So I'm going to pop a little bit here and there on this butterfly as well. So this is nearly done now. What I am going to do now is just rinse off my brush, and I'm going to start using a bit of black. And the reason why I want to use a bit of black is because I just want to tidy up a few areas where I've accidentally sort of painted over the border that I left. And I'm going to take a smaller brush, so I'm just wetting my black on my palette. If you're wondering where I got this palette from, this is a Magello palette, and I love these palettes. I've got one for watercolour as well, and I'll leave a link to this palette because it's such a lovely quality palette. It's great for taking out with you because it closes, and it's supposed to be leak proof as well. Read up on that though, because I'm not like 100%. I haven't actually taken this out with me, and I do let my paints dry before I close the palette, so I'm not 100% on the leak proof bit, so please don't hold me to that. But yeah, this is an amazing little product. It's got a big mixing well here and there, and also you can take this out so it's easy to clean, and then you've got an extra mixing palette there as well, which I think is great. I'm just taking my little filbert brush. This is a little Escoda brush by Prado. So I'm just taking my thick black gouache, and all I'm going to do is just tidy up a few little edges really. There's a little edge here. I am just tidying up a few little edges, that's all. Here. There we go, and the last thing I wanted to do, because I just noticed on the reference photo that there's a tiny bit of like speckled area by here. So this is white gold. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of this white gold here. And all I'm going to do is just add a bit of a shimmer on these rocks by here. Just on a few. So I'm not going to paint it all in one line because obviously there's rocks and there's going to be nooks and cracks. Just thought I'd get that little detail in. I'm going to remove the masking tape now. And when you remove the masking tape, you do want to do this slowly so that you don't rip the paper. I do find that with the black masking, with the black paper, it does take off quite a bit of the paper. I have no idea why that is. Maybe the black paper is a bit softer than white paper, or maybe it's just that it always takes off the paper and I don't even notice because it's white. Anyway, look at that beautiful border, and I'm so happy with how this painting turned out. I hope you had a go at this, and if you did, please let me know in the comments how you got on with this and what colours you decided to use. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.